What is up everyone, Horton here and welcome to another Unity tutorial. Today we are going to be working with some spawns and bullets. For this project this is basically what we are going to be making. So let's get started. First of all, we have to create our new Unity project. See here, and I'm going to call this tutorial number 3. And it's going to be loading, it takes a little bit. So we have it in here. So here we have it. First things first, we're going to create our cannon. I'm going to be using a cube and a cylinder to create a really basic cannon. I'm going to take my cube and create a new 3D object cylinder, and then I'm going to be rotating this in the Z axis. Okay, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, just like 0.5, and a zero point 0.4, we'll say 0.7 and 0.7, just to make it a little bit smaller than the cube. So this is going to be um, my cannon. To actually join these two into one, we're going to be creating a new empty object and call this cannon, and we're going to drag our cube and our cylinder inside it. So now we have our cannon in here. And we actually need something to be spawning. So we're going to create a new 3D object, and I will say a capsule might work here. So I'm going to be rotating this at 90 degrees and position it in the 0, 0, 0, just to get it right in here. And I'm going to make it half its size, so it's 0.5. Yep, just like that. So this is the main thing that we're going to be throwing. This is going to be our bullet, so I'm going to call this bullet. And once we call this, we're going to create in our assets folder, we're going to create a new folder and call this prefabs, just to have a little bit of cleaner our folders. And we're going to drag our bullet inside the prefabs folder. So we have our prefab, our bullet prefab. And as you can see, we can just spawn it whatever we want. And now we can just delete that. So we're going to select our bullet prefab, and we're going to be adding a rigid body. Just type add component, type rigid body, and we're going to be adding a rigid body. And that's pretty much for just now. So now that we have this, we are going to create our actual spawn point, which is going to be an empty object. We're going to call this spawn point. Oh my gosh. Spawn point. Spawn point. Done. And I'm going to take my spawn point just to the very edge of the capsule in here, the cylinder, I mean. So just to see it, we're going to select an icon. It's going to be this one for me. And I'm going to position it just in here. I'm going to select a 2D view just for a second so I can position it better. And I'm going to select it, and I guess that's right. Yep, that's the position I want. So right back into our 3D position, and we're going to be dragging our spawn point to the cylinder just to keep it all together. So now that we have this, we have our bullet, we have our cannon, we can also create some materials. So I'm going to be creating a new folder called these materials. And inside materials folder, I'm going to right click, create material. And I'm going to call this bullet. So basically materials are the things that gives our object some color. So for the bullet, I will say I'll like a gray sort of color. So I'm going to just leave it in there. I'm going to drag also the bullet prefab just so you can see it and drag my bullet material into the peel. So as you can see, it just changed the color. So we can keep changing it. You can make this a red. You know what? I'm going to go for a red bullet just to add some color to this. So now that we have this, we're going to hit apply. And now we can just delete this bullet. So we have it in here and it's already red. So now that we have this, we are going to start scripting our shooting, which is going to be a really simple and fast C# script. So we're going to head and create a new folder for our scripts. And in here, we're going to create a new C# script. We're going to call this shoot. And we're going to open it. If you have this, you can open it. You can also open it in MonoDevelop, which is a pretty cool tool either. But I'm going to be using Visual Studio. And we need to wait a little bit. I'm gonna speed this with the magic of video editing. And it's done. I'm going to be taking off this start method because we're not going to be using it. And we're going to start declaring our variables, which is going to be, first of all, our bullet prefab, which is going to be a public game object bullet. Then we are going to be creating our spawn point. Oh, oh my gosh, I keep doing this. Okay, which is going to be another public game object spawn point. And at the very end, we are going to be adding the bullet speed, which is going to be the speed for our bullet to be shot with. So this is going to be a public float speed, or we can also call this shot speed. And we're going to be setting this as a 200 for default. And we are also going to be needing a bullet holder. This is just for making our code to work as it should. So this is going to be private. We just have to make a game object clone. And that must be it. So right now in our void update, we actually need to create an input GetKeyDown. So for that, we're going to be heading to our documentation, which is going to be this one. And if you need any kind of information about how to use this input get key, which is the get key, the get key down, get key up. You can just come in here in the documentation. You're gonna find every single need you have. Um, but right now we are going to be using the input get key down. You know what? I'm going to select it in here, which is going to be get key down. So as you can see here, it returns true during the frame the user starts pressing down the key identified by the name. For example, in here, if input get key down space print space was pressed. So for this, we are going to be using this actual if in here, and we're going to say bullet has been shit. So right now, we're going to be creating a new empty, and we're going to call this a GameMaster, which is going to be handling all our um, methods. So in here, for example, we have the bullet, the spawn point, and the shoot speed. We don't really need to use any of this right now. We're just going to be checking our um, get key down space uh, to be actually used. So we're going to hit play, and as you can see, oh, sorry. So as you can see in here in my console, if I press space, we see bullet has been shot. So we know it works. So every single time I press um, space, it's gonna print bullet has been shot. There's actually another method to get this information, which I'm going to be using, which is the key code. In this case, it's going to be input.getKeyDown key code dot space, which is the new way to call the things to happen. So I'm going to be adding some brackets because we're going to be doing a couple of things in here. First of all, we have already called our bullet and our span point. So now we have to do something with that. So for this, we're going to be instantiating the object. I'm just going to comment this for a second. And we will be instantiating the projectile at the spawn point position. And in here, we're just going to be handling it as clone, which we declared in here. Um, clone equals to instantiate, and we are going to be instantiating our bullet in this spawn point. Spawn point dot transform that position, and we are going to be giving it also the spawn point dot transform dot rotation. So what we're saying in here is that we're going to be instantiating our game object in the vector 3 position where is the spawn point placed, and in the rotation that the spawn point has. This is for helping us. So if we just take our cannon, for example, and we decide we want it to be heading like this, the bullet is still going to be shoot to the front, and it's going to be in the same rotation as our cannon. Because if we didn't specify this, the bullet's going to keep firing at the left. I mean at the right. So we're just going to be leaving it like that. And once we have this, we need to add the force to our object. So in here we're going to be adding the force to our bullet. I'm sorry, I'm not really good at typing and write and speaking at the same time. So for this, we're going to be creating a rigid body clone, rigid body clone, rigid body, because we're going to be selecting the last spawned object, which is our clone, and we're going to select um, our clone that gets component, and we're going to be looking forward to the um, where is it? Here, to the rigid body component, so we can add some force to it, so it's going to move. So get component, rigid body, and we have to close it in here. And once we have our actual clones rigid body, we're going to be adding the force, which is going to be clone rigid body dot add force, and this is going to be clone dot transform dot forward times shot force, or shoot speed in this case. So now we have it. So we're going to be spawning our bullet, and once we spawned our bullet, we're going to be adding a force to it. So right now I'm just going to be commenting all the add force stuff so you can see it being instantiated. So we're going to be back in Unity. First of all, we have to go to our GameMaster and say, okay, we have in our GameMaster, we have our spawn point, and we're going to drag it in here in the spawn point. We have our bullet in the prefabs folder, and we're going to be adding it, just dragging it to the bullet prefab. And we're going to be clicking the play button. So now, once we hit the space button, we can see our bullet, it's just falling. And it's going to keep falling once we just press space. But that's not what we actually wanted to happen. So for this, it's kind of weird because I'm looking at the bullet and it's not staying right like this. Huh. Or is it's because of this? Yeah, it's going to be in 0. I have it in the wrong position in here. So we're going to be clicking play, and yeah, now it's shooting as it should, and it actually looks kind of weird. But don't worry, it's going to be working right now. So we're going to take off these comments we said, and we're going to save it. And now we can hit play. And once we hit play and click the space button, what? It's going on here. Oh, I'm pretty sure it's working, but we just don't have the force needed. So I'm going to level up this to 1000, and oh, it's shooting in the wrong direction. Okay. Spawn point that transform that rotation, that should be working properly. What is going on? So our spawn point, it's okay. Should we just set this into 0 and get this back to 90? Don't actually think that's what we need. No, that's actually not working. It keeps shooting. Hmm. What is going on? So we have it in the forward. See that this is weird. Okay, just give me a second. This shouldn't be working as it's working right now. And I will be back with this solution. So I finally noticed what the problem was, and the problem is pretty funny. Like we just spawn a new object and say we're going to be adding a force um forward, so it's going to be shoot forward. What a funny thing. But we need to use the spawn point rotation so we can keep shooting even if our cannon it's rotated. So we shoot like this. So if we shoot like this, it's going to be shooting as the cannon says. So in here, the problem is the bullet. It's the bullet. It's actually like this in Unity. So to fix this, we're going to be creating a new empty object, and we are going to call this bullet. And we're going to take our bullet, rotating in 90 degrees, and we're going to be first of all we have to take this at the 0 position. We'll have the bullet at the 0 position as well. Oh, my mistake. I mean the bullet at the 0 position, so they're completely positioned. And we're going to be using this bullet instead of this one. So we're going to be removing the uh, rigid body from our actual prefab, which is this one, and create we'll add a rigid body to the empty object, and we're going to be dragging this to our folder, to our prefabs folder. We can out and we're going to be using this one. We can get rid of this. This usually doesn't happen because while in Unity, if you use, for example, as I was using in the last project, a sphere, it doesn't actually have like a notorious side. It's a sphere. But in this case, since we are using a bullet, um, I mean a peel, it by default just get that rotation. So you don't really need to do this if you have your model of a bullet, because it's going to be as it needs to. So once that is cleared, we are going to be taking our bullet prefab and pulling it in here. So now we have the actual prefab that works. So we are just going to be hitting space, and there we kind of have it, because it's still not working as it should, because our spawn point is rotated. Yeah, so we have to rotate this and this, and now it's hopefully going to shoot as it should, and it is not. It's actually shooting it to the side because we want this to be 90. Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit of playing with stuff. This is not what I expected. I guess maybe it was in here. There you have it, but it's still not shooting as it should. Why? Come on. Why are you this mean? Hey, come back. So it should be working right now. our spawn point. Hmm, having it here. Oh, so it's like this. Actually, the y-axis should be all its way up. Hmm, that's pretty weird. Okay, I'm going to be rotating this for 90 degrees. So I'm in 45? No, minus 90. There you have it. And I want this one to be rotated as well. So I'm going to be rotating it for 90 degrees. And there you have it. So this is kind of a little bit playing with it. So we have it like that. But I'm pretty sure if I just rotate it like this, it's not working as it should. Okay, so that's kind of what we wanted. So we're going to keep it like minus 90 and 90, and we will be taking our bullet and rotating it once again, um about 90, nope, about 90 degrees, nope, 90 degrees, yeah. And we're going to be hitting apply, and hopefully this is going to give us the shadow effect we want. And it's not. Why are you so mean to me? Come on. Should be working just well. I'm going to see this to 0. It's not like that. It's minus 90. And probably it's going to be 90 as well. No, it's not. Are you going to be 0? No, you are not. Of course you ain't. So you're going to be 90 because I want you to be shooted right to the front. I'm going to change you to 0. Come on. Oh my gosh, give me a break. Um, to 0. 90, 0. Okay, 90. It's still not 90, and hopefully this is what we needed. So we're going to set this back, and we're going to copy our transform component of the bullet, because once we are in play mode, any change is going to be saved. So we're going to base the component values, which is 90 and 90, and now we can just hit space and it's going to shoot as we need it to be shooting. So a little bit of feedback about this. So first of all, we have our spawn point, which is going to be telling us where our bullet is going to be shooted. It's going to be shooted forwards. So we need to have our z-axis, which is this small blue arrow in here, and we will need it to be pointing outside our actual cannon. So our bullet it's a little bit of a mess because right now we have it like this. But once it goes out of this, which is a 90 minus 90, we can just see it's going to be 90 and minus 90. And that's how it should be heading. But as we just set our bullet, oh my gosh, our bullet to be a 90-90, it's going to be shooting just well. This is going to be probably a kind of a mess. I actually recommend you to just go and create a sphere, which is in here, and use this sphere as your actual bullet. Like, you just drag it in here, you can delete this. We're going to drag the material to our sphere, and our sphere is going to be our new bullet. So we can just go to our GameMaster and say it's going to be shooting a sphere, and now we should have it like this is not going to be shooting because our sphere does not have a rigid body. So we can just keep doing something like this. And it's right now it's actually working as we were expecting it. Because as I was telling you, this sphere has no sides. So I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to leave both on the description with the actual project folder so you can watch it. Um, and I'm going to be removing this. And well, so now that we have our game master, we're going to set this back to 200. And as you can see here, if I shoot a bullet, it's actually going to be affected by physics. So we can head this up to, I will say, 600, and it's going to be shooting a little bit further. And if we boost it all its way to 1000, it's going to be shooting a little bit more. We can also just add one extra zero, and we're going to see that this is actually pretty absurd. But as we can see in every single one of these ones, we're just looking at these spheres being cloned and clones and clones and clones, and it's going to be creating more and more. So in this case, just for the fact that we're going to be making an actual static bullet, we're going to be creating a destruction method, which is going to be a new script. We're going to create new C# script and call this bullet lifetime. And we're going to be dragging this to our bullet prefabs, which are both of these. Um, it's going to be just like this. So now that we have our bullet our lifetime script, we're going to open it up. And for this, we are going to be using a pretty simple method, which is the destroy on, how was it called? I'm so sorry. Um, okay, I have it in here. It's the on became invisible. So this method it's called whenever the render is no longer visible by any camera. So we're going to use this one, which is but on became invisible. So we're going to be deleting everything in here. And this is going to be our destroy method. And we actually don't want this enable false. We want it to be a this, oh, I mean destroy this dot game object. So what this is gonna do, it's on the very moment that our bullet it's not on the side of any single uh, camera, it's going to be destroyed, which is going to work just fine for this tutorial. So as you can see here, now I can just press space. It's going to create a bullet, and once it is out of sight, it should have been destroyed right now. But it's not. We have our prefab in here, we have a sphere, bullet lifetime. What is the problem here? Oh, we haven't saved this. So I'm just going to boost this because it's extremely slow. I'm going to head it over to 1000, and we're going to be shooting in here right now, which is one shoot, and you see it appears and it disappears. So this is going to help us a lot to save some memory, because if we just fill it with a lot of clones, the memory is going to be just dying in a few seconds, because it's going to have a lot of stuff to load, even it's even if it's just some small, spheres. So this is going to be everything for this tutorial. In the next one, I'm going to be creating a little bit more sophisticated shooting method. So hopefully you like this tutorial. If you do, please leave a like, subscribe, and as I told you in the last tutorials, please leave me some feedback so I can improve this stuff. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.